Welcome to Moonlight Tales, where we share folk tales full of wisdom, magic, and imagination. Please like, comment and subscribe for more interesting. Title: Cursed by Midnight, Freed by Dawn. Chapter 1: The Golden Cage. Amora was the jewel of Afo Village, known for her easy laugh and the glow of good fortune that surrounded her. She was betrothed to Obi, a man everyone agreed was handsome and respectful, guaranteeing her a future of prosperity. Yet, a dark secret coiled beneath her vibrant wrapper, twisting her stomach with dread as dusk approached. No one knew the fear that gripped her heart every evening. Her mother, Ifeoma, watched her with strange, pitying eyes, often murmuring ancient prayers under her breath. Amora was unaware that Ifeoma was carrying the weight of a terrible, necessary pact. The happiness she displayed was a facade, a desperate shield against the creeping horror that began precisely at the close of every day. Obi, her beloved, noticed only her mounting fatigue, mistaking it for pre-wedding jitters. Amora knew the truth. She was waiting for the inevitable hour when her beautiful life paused, and the nightmare began anew. Chapter 2: The Eruption. The transformation always began the same way, starting with a cold tremor deep within her bones. A few minutes past 11, the air in her small hut thickened and grew strangely silent. She fought it, pressing her hands against her ears, trying to stifle the low, guttural sound that was not entirely human. The villagers believed the protective deity watched over her family compound. But what Amora was becoming felt like no protector, but a terrifying, spectral thief. Her skin, so warm and brown, began to glow with a sickly, phosphorescent green light. The pain was not physical, but spiritual, a ripping of her very essence. It was as if her soul was being momentarily replaced by something primal. By the time the village drum for midnight sounded, Amora was gone, replaced by the silent, shimmering entity known only as the Ewulu. Chapter 3: The Shadow Gatherer. The Ewulu was a nightmare of mist and malice, undetectable to ordinary eyes, moving only in the deepest shadows of Afo Village. Its form was tall and gaunt, leaving no footprints in the dry, dusty earth. Its purpose was specific and terrible, to gather and absorb secrets. It was drawn to guilt, regret, and the hidden sins of the most respected households. The entity did not harm the living, but it left a chilling coldness in its wake, causing objects to shift and the memories of the night to disappear entirely. Amora, trapped inside, was a silent witness to the most shameful indiscretions of her neighbors. She saw the cheating trader and the jealous wife. But the most disturbing aspect was the specific nature of the secrets the Ewulu was drawn to. They always involved the sanctity of lineage and family names. Chapter 4: The Night's Burden. As the first rooster crowed, the Ewulu recoiled, scrambling back toward Amora's compound with desperate speed. The unmaking of the entity was as violent as its creation. She awoke, shivering, covered in a thin layer of strange, cold dew, her mind a dizzying mess of other people's confessions and fears. She was exhausted, yet driven by an unnatural energy. The secrets she absorbed were a psychic burden, making it impossible to look her neighbors in the eye. She felt tainted by the collective sin of Afo Village. Ifeoma would be waiting, offering herbal teas and soothing words, pretending that her daughter's affliction was just a rare fever. She secretly cleaned the strange, oily residue left by the returning spirit. Amora tried to tell Obi about her terrifying dreams, but the words caught in her throat, strangled by the unholy vow of silence the curse imposed. Chapter 5: Obi's Devotion. Obi remained steadfast, his love seemingly unshakable, despite Amora's increasing frailty and pallor. He attributed her strange behavior to stress. He promised to hire the greatest native doctor from the neighboring city to find a cure for her recurring illness after their marriage. He presented himself as the perfect, devoted man. Obi was constantly by her side during the day, bringing gifts and offering encouraging prayers at the shrine. His presence was a balm, yet sometimes, it felt heavy. He had a habit of asking specific, detailed questions about her dreams and any unusual feelings she experienced around the hour of midnight. He claimed it was to help with diagnosis. Amora gratefully leaned on his strength, never suspecting that his gentle inquiries were carefully calibrated intelligence gathering. His patience was a frightening mask. Chapter 6: The Missing Scroll. A minor elder, Papa Nduka, discovered a valuable ritual scroll missing from his family shrine. The scroll held the secret history of his ancient and respected lineage. He raised an alarm in the village square, furious and bewildered, knowing no ordinary thief would dare enter his heavily guarded compound. The mystery deepened quickly. The village leader, determined to prevent panic, called for a meeting with Mma Ebra, the village priestess, renowned for her deep knowledge of ancient enchantments. Mma Ebra's usually clear eyes were troubled. She confessed she felt a cold presence in the village, something not evil, but unnaturally old. The night of the theft, Amora, as the Ewulu, had felt an overwhelming gravitational pull towards Papa Nduka's heart, a hunger she could not resist. Chapter 7: The Unseen Mark. As the Ewulu passed, it left no physical sign, but Mma Ebra began noticing small, inexplicable things, a faint, coppery scent in the morning air near the victims' houses. She also detected a minuscule, star-shaped burn mark on the wooden frame of the victims' doorways, a sign, she realized, of powerful binding magic. This mark was a signature of a very specific, and highly illegal, type of enchantment known to only 3 families in the region. The villagers were ignorant of this ancient history. Mma Ebra began to suspect the nightly disturbance was not a random spirit, but a carefully controlled, magical instrument, directed by a powerful, hidden hand. She decided to keep her discovery silent, fearing that revealing the true nature of the magic would tear Afo Village apart and lead to a violent witch hunt. Chapter 8: Obi's Proposal. Obi, sensing the village's growing unrest, accelerated their wedding plans. He insisted they marry within the next month, claiming Amora's health would improve with the stability of marriage. He presented Ifeoma with an impressive dowry, eager to finalize the agreement. Ifeoma seemed hesitant, her face a mask of conflict and profound sorrow. Amora, too weak to argue, agreed, hoping the closeness of marriage would somehow break the curse or reveal its source. Obi's urgency was flattering, but intense. That night, the Ewulu felt a surge of panic, an almost human dread, as it flew over Obi's compound, violating the curse's usual pattern. The spirit found itself searching, not gathering, driven by a desperate, protective instinct that transcended the magical binding of the Ewulu. Chapter 9: The Mother's Guilt. Ifeoma, knowing the wedding date was set, became consumed by guilt and fear. She had placed the curse to protect her daughter, not to torment her. The curse was a desperate measure, a magical binding spell that transformed Amora into a spiritual thief to keep her away from Obi's family at night. Ifeoma knew a secret about Obi's lineage, a dark, ancient pact with a forest spirit that demanded a bride's soul be harvested at midnight on her wedding night. Her curse was meant to slowly drain the evil from Obi's family's influence, not Amora's life. It forced Amora to unknowingly collect and destroy the lineage's spiritual wealth. But the magic was failing, the spiritual energy the Ewulu gathered was no longer fading away, but seemed to be collecting in one central, hidden place. Chapter 10. The Collector. The Ewulu's nightly routine changed. It began hoarding the stolen scrolls, charms, and fragments of family secrets in a specific, concealed location. This location was the hollow of the great Iroko tree, known as the resting place of Afo Village's ancient ancestors. The spirit was establishing a spiritual treasury. MMA Ebra, following the coppery scent, finally tracked the entity to the Iroko tree, finding not an evil spirit, but a storehouse of the village's lost history. She discovered the star-shaped burn mark on the Iroko tree, a clear sign that the collector was operating under a higher, controlled magical order. MMA Ebra now understood, the spirit was not the enemy, the cause was an aggressive, desperate defense mechanism, created by someone who loved the village deeply. Chapter 11. The Shared Dream. Amora woke up one morning with a startlingly clear memory from the night before, not of a dream, but of the Ewulu's actions. She recalled touching a cold, carved wooden box. She felt a rush of protective instinct toward the box, a feeling utterly divorced from her daytime persona. This was the first time the two identities had merged. The box was a plain, unmarked object, which she realized she had seen before, years ago, hidden beneath the family shrine. It was too heavy for her to lift now. She immediately told Obi about the memory, hoping he could help her decipher the clue. His reaction was strangely muted, almost cold. Obi merely dismissed it as a vivid dream induced by her illness and gently encouraged her to forget about it, steering her toward wedding preparations. Chapter 12. Obi's True Face. Obi's calm facade cracked slightly that afternoon. He secretly went to the family shrine, his movements quick and furtive, his eyes betraying deep anxiety. He did not go to pray. He was searching for the wooden box Amara had mentioned, sweating with silent fury when he realized it was not there. The box contained the true, original contract of his family's ancient pact, the one that guaranteed his power but demanded the soul of his bride. Obi understood that Amara, as the Ewulu, was unknowingly gathering the scattered fragments of that contract, trying to reconstruct and ultimately destroy it. He realized the curse was actually a counterspell. His marriage was the last day he had to complete his destiny before the counterspell nullified his power forever. Chapter 13. MMA Ebra's Warning. MMA Ebra found Ifioma outside her hut, weeping silently, knowing she had to confess everything before her daughter married a spiritual predator. MMA Ebra revealed that she had found the stolen items and the star-shaped mark. She said, "Your spell, Ifioma, is working, but the dark influence is accelerating the wedding." Ifioma broke down, confessing the secret of Obi's lineage and the necessary, terrible curse she placed on Amora years ago to save her life. It was a scandal that would shatter Afo Village. The priestess understood the profound, difficult choice Ifioma had made, sacrificing her daughter's peace for her very existence. The counter-curse was the lesser of two evils. MMA Ebra quickly instructed Ifioma on how to amplify the counter-curse before midnight on the wedding day, to ensure Amora was powerful enough to fight back. Chapter 14. The Wedding Night. The wedding was grand, a distraction from the village's unspoken fears. Amora was adorned in beautiful coral beads, her smile strained but genuine. Obi watched her with an unnerving intensity, his eyes calculating the hours until midnight when the contract would be fulfilled and her soul his prize. He ushered her quickly back to their new compound, eager to start the traditional seclusion period. Amora felt a profound sense of doom settling upon her. As Obi began the subtle, unseen ritual to prepare her for the harvest, Amora felt the familiar cold tremor begin. The curse was kicking in earlier than ever. The intense focus of the pre-midnight ritual was too much for Obi's control, and a glimmer of his true, cold eyes flashed at Amora before he quickly concealed it. Chapter 15. The Exposed Mark. As the transformation began, Amora instinctively pulled away, her silk wrapper slipping slightly, revealing a small, faint star-shaped mark on her inner wrist. Obi froze, his eyes widening in shock. It was the mark of the binding spell, the signature of the counter-curse, and he recognized the rare magic instantly. He now knew definitively that Amora was the Ewulu, the spirit collecting his power, and that someone in her family had willingly cursed her to stop him. His facade dissolved, replaced by a snarl of pure malice and predatory hunger. He reached for her, trying to physically stop the change before it completed. Amora screamed, but the sound was trapped in the spiritual vortex of the transformation, just as the village bell began to toll, sounding the arrival of midnight. Chapter 16. The Mother's Confession. Ifeoma, standing alone at the Iroko tree with MMA Ebra, heard Amora's distant, muffled scream, confirming her greatest fears. Obi had made his move. MMA Ebra urged her to act now. Ifeoma knelt, pouring palm oil on the roots, loudly confessing to the ancestors and the spirits that she was the caster of the Ewulu curse. I cursed my daughter, Amora, to save her soul from the darkness of Obi's pact. Ifeoma's voice was hoarse, her public admission a final, scandalous act of love. The confession was a magical catalyst, meant to break the final lock on the Ewulu's power, turning it from a collector into a protector. As Ifeoma confessed, the ground beneath Amora and Obi's new heart trembled, and the spectral energy around Amora intensified violently. Chapter 17. Obi's lineage revealed. The moment the curse completed, the Ewulu lashed out, not flying away, but binding Obi in ropes of cold, shimmering energy. He was paralyzed but conscious. The spirit spoke, but the voice was Amora's, amplified by the power of the curse. You sought a bride, but you found a curse instead. Obi, trapped, screamed the truth, confessing his family's lineage of spirit vampires who fed on the spiritual essence of their brides to maintain their youth and influence. He revealed that he never loved Amora, she was merely a ritual sacrifice, selected for the purity of her ancestral bloodline. It was a betrayal that stung the village. The Ewulu showed him the contents of the hidden Iroko box, the retrieved fragments of the ancient pact, now whole, which nullified his power forever. Chapter 18. The Scars of Dawn. The standoff lasted through the deepest part of the night, with the Ewulu holding Obi captive, forcing him to witness the complete dissolution of his lineage's magic. As the pre-dawn glow began to seep into the heart, Obi, suddenly stripped of his acquired spiritual strength, began to age rapidly. His handsome face withered. The Ewulu watched without pity, the burden of the collected secrets now transferring back to their original, rightful owners. Amora was cleansing herself and the village. At the very first sliver of sunrise, the Ewulu dissolved entirely, and Amora fell to the ground, exhausted, but completely her normal self again. She was no longer pale or weak, the spiritual fatigue had vanished. Amora was filled with the strength of the dawn and the knowledge of the night. Chapter 19. The Empty Shell. Obi, now a frail, aged man, was discovered by the servants when they arrived to greet the newlyweds at dawn. He was mumbling incoherently. Amora was found kneeling beside him, perfectly composed, dressed in her wedding garments, the star-shaped mark on her wrist gone forever. Obi was taken away quickly, his sudden deterioration attributed to a rare, sudden illness that had afflicted his lineage for generations. The village breathed a sigh of relief. Amora did not explain anything. The trauma of the night had been absorbed by the very magic of the curse, leaving her with the knowledge, but not the burden. The scandalous truth, Obi's demonic lineage and Ifeoma's protective curse, remained an explosive, silent agreement between Amora, her mother, and the priestess. Chapter 20, Ifeoma's Apology. Later that morning, Ifeoma found Amora and knelt before her, begging for forgiveness for the years of terror the curse had caused. Amora gently raised her mother, her eyes reflecting the wisdom of the Ewulu, and said, "You gave me the dark to save me from the permanent dark. Thank you." The mother-daughter bond was irrevocably changed, forged in the crucible of painful secrecy and desperate magical sacrifice. They both carried the knowledge now. Ifeoma explained the full, terrible extent of Obi's intended betrayal, and how the Ewulu was designed to specifically break the pact by gathering its physical anchors. Amora understood the curse was never a punishment, but a radical, transformative act of motherly love, protecting her from a scandalous and fatal fate. Chapter 21, The Missing Groom. The official story given to the village was that Obi had been called away suddenly due to a family emergency and had mysteriously fallen ill. He would never return to Afo. The disappearance sparked many rumors, but no one suspected the spiritual battle that had unfolded in the secrecy of the new marital compound. The stolen scrolls and charms were discreetly returned to Papa Nduka and the other families by Mma Ebra, who simply claimed the spirits had demanded their return. Amora was left alone, a bride who was now technically a widow without ever having been a wife. Her reputation was intact, yet her life was completely redefined. She was now seen as a woman who had faced a mysterious trial and emerged stronger, carrying a quiet authority the villagers could not fully comprehend. Chapter 22, The New Power. The curse was broken, but Amora felt a profound change within her essence. The Ewulu had not just left, it had integrated its strength into her own spirit. She found she could now perceive the secrets and unspoken truths of others, a permanent, subtle vestige of her time as the shadow gatherer. This new sense was not malicious, but deeply insightful, allowing her to discern the true intentions of those who approached her. The power was a gift, earned through years of nightly terror, and it allowed her to navigate the complexities of Afo Village with unprecedented clarity and caution. She realized her beauty was now accompanied by a spiritual shield, making her untouchable by ordinary malice or deception. Chapter 23, The Rejected Suitor. Word spread quickly that the beautiful Amora was now free, and a flock of new suitors, eager for her family's now intact wealth and her beauty, arrived. Among them was Okon, a childhood rival of Obi, who always harbored a bitter resentment and a calculating eye for power. He saw her as a potential trophy. Okon approached her with flowery, over-the-top compliments and promises of grand estates, subtly weaving in questions about Obi's sudden demise. Amora, using the spiritual insight of the Ewulu, saw past his charming facade to the greed and envy that drove him. He was merely a lesser version of Obi. She politely, but firmly, rejected him, making it clear that she would choose her path alone, without the need for a protective husband. Chapter 24, The Village's Confession. The villagers, now safe from the Ewulu's gaze, began to feel a strange, collective urge to confess their long-held, minor transgressions. The atmospheric shift caused by the magical confrontation led to a period of spiritual cleansing in Afo Village, with neighbors seeking forgiveness from each other. The scandalous truth of Obi's lineage and Ifeoma's curse was never explicitly told, but the effect of the events brought a brutal, honest light to the community's darker corners. Amora became a quiet, respected counselor, known for her profound, non-judgmental advice, earning her the title of the funny, "Nothing is impossible with God." She proved that the spiritual secrets of the night, when correctly wielded, were far more powerful than the superficial judgments of the day. Chapter 25, True Freedom. Amora, standing by the great Iroko tree, felt a deep, cleansing peace. She was no longer running from the dark, she had confronted it and absorbed its strength. The curse was broken, the enchantment lifted, and the true dawn had brought a freedom she never could have imagined in her golden cage. She was cursed by midnight, but not with a punishment, but with a necessary transformation that shielded her from a terrible fate. Freed by dawn, Amora was now the master of her own light and shadow, walking with a self-possession that surpassed mere beauty. She embraced her new destiny as the wise woman of Afo Village, forever proving that the most profound scandals often hide the most profound sacrifices. Thanks for listening to today's folktale. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories next time.